This is Jesse Lee Peterson's spiel. It's not just him. Larry Elder says the same thing. They say something to this effect.
Prior to the civil rights movement, black people made their own money. They bought their own land. They did their own thing. They were financially wealthy. But they decided somehow or another to give it up and become reliable on the government to take care of them. And then they decided not to think for themselves.
His followers don't ask questions. They just want to believe what Jesse is saying. This is a classic case of following the leader instead of following the evidence. There's a major plot hole in this black utopia Jesse Lee Peterson attempts to spin. And if his followers were paying attention to the evidence and not the leader, they would spot it too. Jesse Lee Peterson says prior to the civil rights movement, he's talking about the movement that led up to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Blacks made their own money, bought their own land, did their own thing, and they were financially wealthy. But they decided to give it all up and become reliable, his words, on the government. That's his story. So the question would be, if blacks had their own businesses, had their own land, had their own money to the point of being wealthy, what did they need to become reliable on the government for? His story doesn't make any logical sense, but why would I expect logic from Jesse Lee Peterson? That's my fault, and I'll try to do better. But it would be like me trading in my 5-bedroom house on a 5-acre lot, trading in my business and access to my bank account for a 2-bedroom apartment and a monthly check substantially smaller than what I was earning with my successful business. It sounds stupid when you think about it for a second, but this is what he says happened. Of course, I'm saying there was no black utopia on a large scale prior to the civil rights movement. Blacks' percentage of wealth in this country was virtually unchanged from what it is now. And since blacks have been deprived of access to wealth, they accepted help from the government because they needed it. He's saying it's not systemic white supremacy, it's the breakdown of the black family. And prior to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, blacks didn't have those issues. Well, using my thinking cap again, if it was a piece of legislation that broke up the black family, causing issues that we still have today, wouldn't that be a textbook example of systemic racism? He's wrong at every conceivable angle.